My name is Bobby Polite. I chose Joel Sartori as my photographer to emulate for this project. Joel has been a photographer specializing in endangered species and habitats for several decades. He is a regular contributor to National Geographic and is a public speaker, traveling the world with a serious mission of educating the importance of environment and animal conservation. He has dedicated over 25 years to documenting every living thing on the planet before they are gone. And this is what inspires me so much about him. He takes such stunning photos to bring focus to what could be lost in the near future. The idea behind my image is to challenge myself to get a close up of an animal in a controlled environment to showcase and highlight the colors and textures of that animal. I plan on keeping it on a solid color background that will allow for that kind of focus and highlight, but make it my own by choosing a color other than black or white to complement the animal. I ended up with a dark, deep, rich green. In an effort to emulate his work, I had to plan. First, I had to decide which animals to use as a subject. This was important because the setup would be different with different animals. I knew it would be one of my chelonians because they are more interesting than my dogs and cats. People see those every day. I ended up choosing the smaller chelonians strictly for ease. I knew I was going to be gifted the light set and thought it would be easier to set up for the first time inside without worries about wind or other weather events. Rock My Sulcata is just too big for a photo shoot inside. Once I made that decision, I could start planning the setup now. I knew the frame for the background would straddle the table easily. I decided using my dining room table would be the best thing for my subjects and their size. I utilized a tripod to stabilize the camera. Since I was working with animals and they can be a bit unpredictable, I used a faster shutter speed. Because of the extra lighting, but the desire to get as much color as I can, I used a medium aperture. The idea was to require as little editing as possible. I ended up playing around with the lighting positions and my flash, and some came out closer to what I was looking for than others. Snippy's image is where I made most of my mistakes. I played around with editing in RAW, then took it into Photoshop for more editing. In the top layer, I masked out the background. In the second layer, I masked out the subject. Then I used 2-layer adjustments of brightness contrast to darken the background. I used 2 because one layer dropped to the lowest was not dark enough. The one trouble I had here was the line around the subject blending. You can still see a bit of it underneath the animal. In Pebble's image, I used all of the lessons I learned from my mistakes in Snippy's image. I created 2 duplicates of the original layer. I hid any layers I was not working on directly. I did a subject select and contracted that select by 1 before masking out the background. Then I hid the top layer and unhid the second layer. This is a layer where I made most of the adjustments in my process. First of all, I did not mask out the subject. Secondly, I realized that the 2 adjustment layers were not needed if I just used the adjustment panel. I did the complete adjustment in one move. I unhid all the layers to check my values and edits. The subject looked too far away, so I cropped the image. Snippy's image came out okay in my opinion. I got it pretty crisp and pulled out his colors and textures well, but there are still some areas where I could see too much blur. His left eye, left front foot, and tail are my favorite parts of this image. Pebble's image came out much better. The colors and textures are all crisp and clear here. Thank you for your time. I hope you have enjoyed this presentation in class as much as I have. I look forward to seeing more of your work on this journey.